It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege to interview the Rhode Island Assistant Head Softball Coach, Mary Holt-Kelsch. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you got started in your coaching career?
Yeah, so actually I started at the travel ball level while I was playing at Kent State University. I coached the travel ball team, New England Phoenix Gold, that I actually played for when I was younger. After that, I actually got a phone call from one of my former assistant coaches that I played for at Kent. He took the job at Lafayette College and he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come down and work for me?" And I said, "Sure, why not? Let's give this Division I life a go." So I moved down to Easton, PA, and then the rest is history. And here I am at Rhode Island. So,
Can you talk about what you have accomplished as the associate head coach at Rhode Island?
yeah, so this is year 6 for me, which is crazy how fast time goes. When we first got here, the team was 3-41. So it was definitely a rebuilding process for sure. And I think kind of the biggest things that I've kind of done here is really revamp the offense. Our offense has been the best it's been since I think 97, if I remember correctly, from like the 2000 or 2019 season. Obviously 2020 was shortened, so it's kind of hard to even remotely count any of that stuff. But in 2019, we had one of the best offensive outputs that we had since 97, like I think I said before, but definitely revamping the offense and definitely I think we have one of the better infields in the conference as well.
What was your timeline at Lafayette for the last 2 seasons?
I mean, it was definitely a lot of fun. It was working for Coach Jex was definitely cool. Playing for him is one thing, and then you go and work from somebody, you definitely get a different perspective of kind of what your coaches are actually doing on a daily basis. Like obviously when you're an athlete, you just see them at practice. And I think at Lafayette was kind of really cool to figure out like the behind scenes stuff, like all the planning and everything that actually goes into kind of being a college coach and stuff. And I think starting my career with somebody that I knew and I played for was definitely something that helped me learn a lot, I think for sure, because there was already that trust built in.
What was your college career like at Kent State University?
Definitely a lot of fun. I never actually knew about Kent State University at all until Coach Linder called during the recruiting process. Grew up in Rhode Island, so I didn't really know that much about Kent, obviously, because they're out in Ohio. It was the best 4 years of my life for sure. And obviously, when you get to play for a coach like Karen Linder, that's definitely something that you're blessed to be able to do and have the opportunity to be able to do. And I learned a lot while I was out there. I definitely grew a lot as a person and really enjoyed the challenges they brought to us on a daily basis for sure.
Can you talk about, like you said, you grew up in Rhode Island and you now coach in Rhode Island. How is that like?
I mean, it's nice to be back home with mom and dad around and stuff and having the family around and everything. I loved Rhode Island, obviously. If you grew up in a place, you tend to love it. I actually grew up in Providence, so being down at URI is definitely something that is different because usually if you grow up in Providence, you grow up a Friars fan for basketball, but had to kind of change my allegiance and root for the Rhody Rams now, which I get a lot of fuss about at Thanksgiving dinners for sure from the family because we did grow up Friars fans. But, I think coming down here and learning the culture at URI, I think if I knew about it when I was a kid, I probably would have been a Rhody Rams fan the whole time because everything we do here is so awesome.
What have you accomplished as a coach at Rhode Island?
Oh man, that's that's crazy. I think for me, it's so crazy when we kind of get asked those questions of kind of like what you've accomplished as a coach. Because I think for me, the biggest thing is the accomplishment is bringing in great student athletes because the culture being built here is not possible without them. And I think the kids that we had before when we first started to now what the roster looks like now, the roster now wouldn't be possible without those kids we had in the first couple of years. And I think that's kind of been the greatest accomplishment, is really making a group believe in what we're trying to do, and they're really selling it to the recruits that we're trying to get in to kind of help bring the program to the next level. And I think the biggest accomplishment for sure has been kind of being able to grow student athletes and make them proud of a program that they're a part of.
Can you talk about the culture that you've built at Rhode Island for the softball program?
Yeah, I think for us, when we first got here, family was the biggest thing we wanted to kind of hammer home with them. This year we kind of translated it a little bit. We're trying to like make the move to making it more of like a championship culture. So one of the big things we talk about all the time is the dog pile mentality. So the dog pile mentality means that we're literally doing whatever it takes on a daily basis in the weight room, in the classroom, on the field, to ultimately dogpile at the end of the year and hoist the trophy up all together, and understanding that it's an everybody effort from top to bottom. And that's from our administration all the way down to the last person on the roster, to the people who clean our locker rooms and everything like that. I think understanding that it's a collective effort to do whatever it takes to make sure at the end of the year in May that we're dogpiling in the middle of the field after an A10 tournament.
That's a wonderful culture. Can you talk about the recruitment process and what that's like?
Obviously, do you want the COVID answer or do you want the normal answer?
Go with COVID first.
Okay. I think obviously COVID has brought a lot of challenges in the recruiting process for sure. Obviously, because the NCAA granted everybody who was on the roster last year another year of eligibility, which is awesome. The fact that I can have some of these kids for 5 years, it's great. I think with the recruiting process, though, it's kind of given us some challenges to kind of have to navigate a dead period a little bit. Virtual softball games are a norm now. I think I had at one point during the summer, I think I had like 8 screens going of watching games. And I was like, man, I just miss being at the ball field. It's definitely a lot easier to kind of switch between fields at a ball field than it is on your screen for sure. But Zoom has been our best friend. We've had kids on Zoom calls and stuff. We've had players kind of helping us out with that as well, because the players are a big part of the recruiting process. Like, those are their future teammates. So we got to make sure they kind of vibe with our group and everything like that. But COVID has definitely made the recruiting process interesting for sure.
What was it like before COVID?
So we recruit on like a national scale. Usually I'm out California, like me and the staff are out California. We go to Colorado, we're in Georgia, we're out in the Midwest, kind of just trying to go to all the big tournaments that we kind of need to go to see the talent that's out there. Once we kind of figure out a pool or a group of people that we're interested in getting on campus, we usually have them come out and do a camp in the fall and stuff like that. That way they can get with the kids, and the kids can kind of like learn like who they are as people as well. And then after kind of they go through the camp, we figure out which ones we want to bring out on an unofficial visit. That way they can stay in the dorms with the girls and stuff like that, meet with people that are in their academic programs of interest and stuff. Usually it's a lot more fun that way because you get some more face-to-face time, get to know mom and dad a little bit better, and just see if they're a good family fit for us as well as a talented fit for us.
Can you talk about, of course, the official visit and what you do on the official visit?
So we're actually a little bit weird. So we only do our official visits after the kids have committed. We usually get the whole class that's coming in. So usually like if because the 21s are coming in next fall, they would come out for opening basketball weekend. So for us, that would be probably about today that they would be out here, because our basketball home opener is today. They would come out, they would go to a basketball game, and then we usually take them out to dinner, them and their family, to Matunic Oyster Bar that's down the road. That's restaurant teammates.
Do they get to try on the jersey, like the uniforms, of course, on the official visit, or do you wait until they actually commit?
We wait until they actually commit, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on kind of how the visit goes. Usually, like this year, we had planned for them to do that. Obviously, our plans got changed because of COVID, but usually they do get to do that. That way, we know that we have everything that they need for when they get here in the fall.
Can you talk about that feeling whenever they put on that like Carolina bluish color uniform?
Yeah, the Keene blue is what we call it. I think like the smile you see on their face when that kind of happens is like the best, because I think you see them put on the jersey and they have that big smile on their face. You know that they made the right decision and they're ready to do some special things in Kingston for sure.
What advice would you give upcoming high school athletes looking to get recruited to the next level of college softball?
I think the big thing I see is make sure that you schedule some time away from the game during your year. I know that might be a weird answer to give, but I think sometimes these kids, you see that they're constantly working out from January to the next January, and you're like, give yourself a minute, take a month off, relax, play a different sport and stuff like that. Find the fun of just competing and playing with other teammates and everything like that. I know that our sport takes a lot of training and our sport is very skill specific, but sometimes a couple of weeks away from the sport is the best thing that you can possibly do to kind of refresh the mindset and stuff and be excited about putting the glove on or holding a bat in the hand again.
What advice would you give upcoming softball coaches looking to get into the profession?
I think like the biggest thing is figuring out like what level you want to coach at, understanding the time that needs to go into everything. But most importantly, when you go on interviews or you're trying to like get your foot in the door, find someone that you really, really, truly believe can help you grow and take your career to the next level or to the heights that you want your career to be able to go to.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with Rhode Island's softball program at?
Everything for us for Rhody Softball is at Rhody Softball, Instagram and Twitter, and then our Facebook is Rhody Softball. Let me look. I had to change my Twitter handle because obviously I got married a few years ago. But Twitter, I am at Coach Mary _Rhody, and I'm pretty positive that's the same thing that my Instagram is as well.
Thank you again, Coach Mary, for your interview, and best of luck in this upcoming season at Rhode Island.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Mary, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.